Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN in Baton Rouge. You get your work week started. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Our Tuesday staples will be coming at you. Glenn West at 1:30 talking Tigers. We'll talk Heisman. We'll talk football. We'll talk portal. We'll talk hoops. We'll talk it all on the LSU front with Glenn West. We'll also talk Sharie Ishee in the second hour as usual, but up a couple of slots. We'll talk Sharie at 2:30. That's because Cody Worsham was available for us at 2:30, where Sharie usually is. So we'll chat with Cody Worsham from LSU at 2:30. Cody obviously been a huge part of this push to promote Jaden Daniels' Heisman Trophy candidacy, and he was up there in New York City for a few days and got back yesterday. So we wanted to kind of see what that was like from an LSU perspective, from getting that entire campaign together to pumping it out on social media, creating the videos, that kid Jaden, the Times Square billboards. Like, these are all things that have to be thought of beforehand, and LSU's brand team just does a wonderful job at getting those three letters out there, and they certainly did up in NYC earlier this week. So we'll chat with Cody coming up in hour number 2. Interesting story from The Athletic on the playoff next year that we'll get to in 15 minutes. But I would like to start with the bowl game. Okay? That all right with y'all? If you've listened at any point over the last 2-3 weeks, you have heard my thoughts on bowl season, no doubt. And you will continue to hear those for the next 3 weeks because they're relevant as we crank bowl games here in the next couple of days. You're hearing quarterbacks. I'm looking up right now at Drake May and Sam Hartman's names are on the 2 TVs we've got because both guys are not playing in their bowl games. I don't have any interest in the results of bowl games anymore because neither do the coaches because they're all gone or fired. Neither do the players because they're all opting out or going to the transfer portal or going to the draft. Like, it's a skeleton crew at all these bowl games. So I've made that clear. However, LSU is going to play a football game on the 1st of January. They're going to play a 7-5 Wisconsin team. And I'll be real honest with you. As I sit here in this very chair at 1:02, about to be 1:03 p.m. on December the 12th, I cannot name one player on the Wisconsin Badgers football team. Not one. Can't name one. I know they lost to Indiana and Northwestern because that's the first thing I looked at when I saw the opponent. And so you know that I don't care about the result of that game in terms of getting to 10 wins or that. I can't be invested in it if no one else in college football is. However, that all being said, there are some reasons for me to watch this bowl game and their young players. This has become a better version of the spring game, in my opinion. And you might roll your eyes at that. You might agree with me wholeheartedly. Doesn't really matter. We're on the same page. You want to get a huge crew together and crack open the Miller Lights at 9 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day and nurse that hangover and watch the Tigers play some football and yell and scream at the TV? I'm all for it, man. Start the new year. You're not working. LSU's playing. Get after it. But I'm not going to react to this game like I did the A&M game or the Alabama game or certainly the Florida State game. You can. I'm not. But I'm watching for a few things like I'd be watching the spring game for a few things. And it obviously starts with Garrett Nussmeier as I get into the reasons why I want to see this game. I don't think Jaden Daniels is playing in the bowl game. If Jaden Daniels comes out and says, hey, I got to put on the purple and gold one more time, I'm playing up. Awesome. Can't wait to watch. Wisconsin, you're going to lose by 20. But I don't think that's going to happen because first-round quarterbacks don't play in bowl games. Second-round quarterbacks don't play in bowl games. Aiden O'Connell didn't play in the bowl game last year, which would be funnier if he wasn't going to start this week. But that's where we are. So Garrett Nussmeier's action in this bowl game, I'm interested in. I want to see him go out there, run the show, and give me a reason when that game is over to think, we're going to whoop USC in Vegas next year. That's what I want to think coming out of that game. Oh, this guy's got it cooking. Remember Matt Flynn in the Miami game? Looked good. Now, he didn't play the next year. Jamarcus is back. But you could hearken back to that game as you got into 2007 when LSU was preseason number 1 and go, remember that Miami game? That was sick. And I kind of want to see that from Garrett Nussmeier in this game. You're going to have what I would imagine would be a pretty solid offensive line, maybe the whole unit that's been out there. And no matter who plays on the outside, you will have some weapons to go to. So I'd like to see Garrett Nussmeier have a really good day. They got him some reps against Purdue last year. I'd like to see a full game's worth in this. Because I'm just going to get out in front of this. Like, we'll sit here, as I said, it's the middle of December. I will probably be the guy on this station in July and August of next year that's telling you to kind of pump the brakes. That's probably going to be me. I'm not there yet, so we'll see. But I've got a feeling on how I'm wired, and I just watched the second greatest quarterback I've ever watched in LSU history play this year, and I just watched two guys that I think are going to be first-round picks in the NFL draft on the outside. And I'm not, in my opinion right now, going to be a guy in July and August next year that goes, man, you still got Nuss. He's a fourth-year guy. These guys are all 4- and 5-star receivers. You're not going to drop off that much on offense. I'm probably not going to say that. I'm probably going to go, you need to be prepared for some growing pains on this offense. That's probably where I'm going to be. So I hope Nuss can chip away at that a little bit on New Year's Day. Give me a reason to kind of turn the corner and go, you know, this guy's got something. And the guy back there with him in the backfield, well, it could be Logan Diggs and certainly could be Josh Williams, and they may give Noah Cain some carries. I'd really like to see Caleb Jackson. I think y'all realize this, but we didn't see Caleb Jackson very much this year. He kind of showed that pop against Grambling with the 11 carries that he got and 62 yards, and he had the 121-yarder where he trucked the guy, and you were like, oh, that's a pretty talented dude. And then he got 5 more carries against Mississippi State, but he also had that kick return. And you were like, oh, this guy's really talented. And there's still a clip, a reel on Instagram that's me talking about Caleb Jackson looking at where in the calendar he would break out and become kind of the featured back on the team, like Fournette eventually did, like, Jeremy Hill eventually did, like Stephen Ritna, Kenny Hilliard did. I was going back through the true freshman running backs that found their way. Justin Vincent was in that conversation, and that never came to fruition. 2 carries against Arkansas, none against Auburn. They got in the ball against 2 carries against Arkansas, and then 2 against Army. He had none against Auburn, none against Bama, 4 against Florida, 4 against Georgia State, 1 against A&M. Like, you never saw him really break out. After the 62-yard Grambling game, his largest output in rushing yards was 23 yards against Georgia State. I'd love it if he got 15 carries on New Year's Day because I think he's got a chance to be great. We haven't seen anything like that since the 9th of September. I'd really enjoy that if we could see a lot of Caleb Jackson in the bowl game. And I don't think Jaden Daniels played, do not believe that Brian Thomas will play in this bowl game. And I think Malik Neighbors has got about 3 bubble screens in him. You got to get me these 22 yards I need to be the all-time leading receiver, and I'll go put my helmet on the bench and let the kids play. And that's perfectly fine. Give me 3 bubble screens, maybe a slip screen. We'll throw a hitch. Maybe if we get into 3rd and 14 because of a penalty, might throw a little slip screen there to see if we can't chew up 9 or 10 yards. And I think he sits down. But we didn't see these young wide receivers really at all this year. You look at the final numbers in receiving, Shelton Sampson doesn't show up. Jaylen Brown doesn't show up. Kyle Parker doesn't show up. Aaron Anderson, very little used. He had 12 catches. I mean, you saw Kamorian Pimpton make a catch. Shelton Sampson, none. So I'd love to see the next wave of wide receivers here. I think there's a good chance Kyron Lacey comes back and maybe Aaron Anderson's healthier next year. You go into the transfer portal, maybe you grab Xavier Thomas or Will Shepard, whoever the case may be. But you brought in some really talented receivers in this class, and they haven't played. There just hasn't been available time. Now there's available time. Wisconsin, Tampa, New Year's Day, prime time, TV. Not prime time in the late hours, but that's when everybody's watching TV. I'd love to see the young kids get out there and make some catches. This is the bones of your offense next year. Nuss, Caleb Jackson, maybe Trey Holly, Shelton Sampson, Jaylen Brown, Kyle Parker. I'd love to see a little bit of that against Wisconsin. On the defensive side of the ball, you really just looked at Javian Toviano and Ashton Stamps after the bye week and said, boys, go get them. And now I think you're going to look at them in the Wisconsin game and say, boys, go get them. And we'll see what they can accomplish in the transfer portal. But there's a chance that as sophomores against Lincoln Riley's USC Trojans, you look at them and say, boys, go get them. Like, they might be your corners. We'll see. So I'd like to see those guys against a Wisconsin offense that's not very good. Maybe there's a little bit of a confidence building that can go on there. So it's not some sort of totally outside the box thought that, man, I'd like to see young players get ready for next year. But there are specific ones that I'm looking at. Yeah, I'd love to see Deshaun Womack have 3 sacks in this game. Sure. But I'm looking at the bones of next year's offense and what was such a huge weakness for LSU this year, which was coverage on the outside, whether it was man or zone, big plays, completion percentage, just functioning as a defensive back group. That maybe there's some improvement that can go on between the bye week when you told Stamps and Toviano to go play, and then you played 4 games, and then you have 4 weeks. So it's like 2 months of prep for those guys to be the first teamers, to get the reps, and to go out there and put it to practice against Wisconsin. It's a glorified spring game to me, and that's what I'll be looking for as we move forward. We don't have like a ton of time to talk about this bowl game. You look at the rest of this week, and then we have the rest of next week, but then you come back, and we've only got a 3-day week because of Christmas, and then there's the game. So we've only got like 10 days left to talk about this, and we're going to be talking about transfer portal stuff and coaching hires. The schedule drops tomorrow, and we've got, obviously basketball. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to crop up between now and the end of the year, and the last day we have on this station is the 29th before January 1st bowl game. So I figured let's dip our toe in the water. This will be the refrain that I give you most of the next 3 weeks. And I'll be consistent. Like, I would rather LSU go out there in this game against Wisconsin and lose 41-38 with Nussmeier throwing for 381 and 4 scores, and you've lost and you didn't win 10 games, and you lost to a Wisconsin team that wasn't that good, and your defense still stunk, and all this. I would rather that than LSU go out there, Nuss throw 2 picks, get sacked 6 times because he's not getting rid of the ball, and you win a game 28-14 because you ran 2 kicks back. Up 10 wins. No, I'm not there. Give me the stuff that gives me the juice for next year. That's where I am on this bowl game for LSU. It's not the way I was 4 years ago. It is now because the landscape changed. And if you're one of those that hates this new deal, like, I got you. I loved looking forward to bowl games. I'm not going to fake it anymore. I heard T-Bob this morning saying it's important to win 10 games and create the momentum for next year. I've never been on a team, never been on a locker room, and Hester would swear to you I was wrong. But I watched LSU go out there in a Texas Bowl and get beat with a wide receiver at quarterback and then come back the next year and win the West. I can't in good conscience try to connect with you winning a ReliaQuest Bowl with moving into next year. It just, I can't do it. But they're going to play, and I'll be watching, and those are the things that I'll be watching for. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll come back. Great athletic piece on the playoff moving forward and what the selection committee will have to look at. A lot more dynamics at play next year than there were this year when there was all that controversy. We'll get to that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Been enjoying telling you about Marucci Sports. You know about Marucci Sports at this point. They're a trailblazer in baseball. Started out just creating some bats in the backyard. All of a sudden now you've got stars from all over Major League Baseball coming to Baton Rouge to try out the Marucci Baseball Performance Center to hone their craft and understand the technology behind all of it. And there are great employees over there at Marucci that they've brought in from outside the state. Attracting talent always been tough for Louisiana. Keeping talent has always been tough for Louisiana. And Marucci does that. That's what makes them a champion of Louisiana, not to mention the tourism dollars they bring in every summer with the Marucci World Series. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Marucci, whether it's a person, a business, nonprofit, let's tell their story. LWCC's Champions of Louisiana program lets us do that. So go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition, $15,000 off new Ford Expedition, and all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a $1 million.
Wednesday's OTB, a Christmas edition of Flustering, as Matt Flynn joins the show. Plus, what do the Saints need to do to overcome the Italian stallion? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West is with us in 10 minutes here. He's senior writer at Go247. We'll talk all things LSU with Glenn. I found an interesting piece on The Athletic today about the committee's decisions moving forward in the college football playoff as we reach the 12-team era. And I had not really allowed myself to kind of dive deep into the inner workings of the 12-team playoffs. We just weren't there. And I'm starting to kind of allow my brain to start to function like that. And so I want to go into some of the decisions they'll have to make. Really, right now, it does matter who's 1 and who's 2. And it matters who's 4 and who's 5. That matters. 2 and 3, you can flip either way, just whatever jersey they put on. You have to get number 1 right because they play 4, and that was what was such a big deal for LSU in 2019. You wanted to play Oklahoma instead of Clemson or Ohio State. And then, obviously, 4 and 5 is what we saw this year, which is you're in or you're out. That goes without saying. Those were the 2 big decisions for the committee. What happens after that didn't matter at all, and that was very, very evident when you realize that they left Florida State in front of Georgia. If we're doing the better team here and you don't think Florida State can play in the in the playoff and you leave them out in front of Georgia, that doesn't make any sense. But it didn't matter at that point. Just throw those teams in the Orange Bowl and let them play, whatever. But now more decisions are going to matter in this 12-team playoff, and I'll kind of lay it out as they did in The Athletic and give my thoughts on it. They're never going to have to worry about the Florida State situation ever again. That goes without saying as well. You're not going to have an undefeated Power 4 champion. Is that what we're calling it with the Pac-12 dissolving? Even with the Big 12, me not considering it a power conference, that champion's going to get in. So you're never going to have to worry about the undefeated team not getting in from a power conference, as it were. However, you are going to have stakes if you are number 5 as opposed to number 6. The first 4 are going to get buys, so 4 and 5 is obviously huge. Then you go into the teams that will have to play. You have to worry about who's 5 and who's 6. Because theoretically, number 5 is going to be the top-seeded team that's playing in the first round. They will likely host the best group of 5 team. Number 6 will play number 11 as opposed to number 12. Well, this year, you're looking at the difference of playing Ole Miss or Liberty. And I think we can agree that's a pretty big deal. So that's a big, big deal. Number 8 versus number 9 is a big deal next year. Why? Because number 8 hosts and number 9 travels. And they play each other. So that's a big distinction. If you're LSU, theoretically in a given year, do you want to go play Wisconsin or Michigan in the middle of December? I've seen LSU go to Fayetteville in November when it's 20 degrees and they can't score. Big difference coming down here where it's 50. Maybe 70, depending on the day. So that matters a lot. And then you've obviously got your end of the playoff discussions that matter. So in this situation, you've got obviously 1, 2, 3, and 4 matters before you get to 5. 5 and 6 matters because you're probably talking about playing a group of 5 team. 8 and 9 matters because it's home field advantage. All of these things are situations we didn't have to think about this year. Now we can go back to last year and look at that 8 to 9 debate. And it would have been between Tennessee and Kansas State with 8 and 9. Tennessee had lost its quarterback. Here we go again. Tennessee had beaten Alabama. They had gone into Tiger Stadium and beaten SEC West champ LSU by 100. They'd also gotten torched by South Carolina. K-State had won the Big 12. They had beaten TCU, who would get in the playoff. They had beaten Oklahoma State. So what he's going to do with that? They didn't have to worry about that last year. Who cares what Kansas State and Tennessee are ranked? Now you really would. And the battle for the last at-large spot is going to be nuts. It usually came out cut and dried with 4. With 12, there's going to be some nuance. There's just not going to be a cut and dried situation. This year, you'd have 10-2 Oklahoma ranked 12th. They'd be out because you got to add the group of 5 team. They beat Texas. They lost to Kansas and Oklahoma State. You'd be looking at Missouri, who was also 10-2, same record. They didn't have any top 20 wins. Do they deserve to be in? I Oklahoma's wins are much better than Missouri's. What's Missouri's best win? Tennessee? That gets really dicey. So, and then the last piece to this puzzle, which I don't really care about, is the top group of 5 team. Liberty was 13-0 this year. They had a strength of schedule 133 out of 133. That's pretty impressive. And then you have 11-2 SMU, who lost 2 Power 5 games. That's a lot of nuance. And you know what? As I sit here today, and I don't have to have any emotional investment in it whatsoever, because there isn't a playoff ranking to this point, and no one's played a game in 2024, I'm okay with it. There's going to be times where LSU gets some advantage. There's going to be times where I think that it wasn't quite fair. But there's enough margin for error for you to make up for the selection committee. There wasn't for Florida State this year. There is now that you can lose a game or two. You lose a third game, I don't want to hear about it. You lose a second game, one of them's at home, sorry, if you're LSU. Like, get it done. LSU got the screws put to them in the 2009 basketball bracket. I'll never forget it. They won the SEC outright. They got an 8 seed. The 9 was Butler, who was about to play for the national final twice. And then they had to go play North Carolina, who had their best team in 10 years. That LSU team was good. They got screwed by the committee. But you had 30-something games to take care of that. It's going to be tough for me with LSU now in a situation where you're in a great strength of schedule league with opportunities for big wins in a playoff selection bracket that is going to put Missouri in this year if it was 12 teams. If you come up short in getting in, you probably lost a third game. If you come up short of getting that bye, well, you probably lost 2 games. And if you come up short of getting, I mean, that's more palatable to me, the college football fan, than this razor-thin margin that Ohio State had to operate in this year. Well, went to the big house and lost. You're out. I don't like that. It creates all that drama for Michigan, Ohio State, and that's great, but you just threw the other 11 games in the trash can. That's just not for me. But I can sit here today in 2023, 9 months removed from when we start this process next year, and say, you know what? They've now given you enough leeway. And there are going to be a lot of decisions made, and maybe LSU just misses that bye. Maybe LSU just misses that home game, and they get in. At least you got a shot. It's just a tougher shot because you didn't take care of all your business. That's just, I like it. I'm in. There's more nuance. There's more room for people to be outraged. But if you're 13th, or in this case 12th, and there's a group of 5 team that gets added so you get bumped out of the 12-teamer, you had your shot. You had your shot. Didn't get it done. I can live with that. What I can't live with in this 4-teamer is Florida State this year and Ohio State this year doing almost everything they can do and coming up short by a matter of 1 injury in 1 quarter, and you've just ditched them. I'm out on that. And we don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'd much rather have the discussion about whether or not a team should be 8th or 9th in a home game or in a visiting game as opposed to 4th or 5th and you're in or out. And plus, all this that I'm talking about is just content for us. It's good discussion. It's good fodder. There's more intrigue. Well, that team's lost twice. See ya. In some cases, that team's lost once. See ya. I don't like it. This playoff will be entertaining. There's some really good football teams in it. Next year, more my speed. Glenn West, go 24/7 with us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. Looking to do something nice for the workplace at the end of the year. Everybody's finishing up budgets, getting everything renewed for the year, like whatever the case may be. And sometimes things slow down a little bit towards the end of the year and you want to do something nice. How about some catering from Jersey Mike's? They do awesome work. You can mix and match their subs in a big 12 sub boxes. Get a couple of those. That's 24 subs that can come in 2 boxes. Or individually boxed lunches work great as well from Jersey Mike's. Tell our friends at the Highway 30 location in Gonzales that we sent you over there. 20% off for Hunt Palmer Show listeners. Get a cookie or brownie platter to add to that. It's just good sense. People want a little cookie after they've eaten their delicious sub. Might be the original Italian with the ham, prosciutto, capicola, salami, pepperoni. Be one of their famous cheesesteaks, grilled fresh to order with tender steak, peppers, onions, and white American cheese. Download the Jersey Mike's app. See him on DoorDash or on ASAP. Stop by the location, Highway 30 in Gonzales. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Hey, boat owners, check it out. It is the holiday season, which means it's time to buy yourself a gift by taking your boat to the next level with our friends at Front to Back Boat Service. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your boat and get it ready for that warmer weather, whether that's trolling motors, HD sonar, anything and everything. The Sherman family's been at it for 30 years, and Devin's going to take you through 30 more. Find them on Facebook at Front to Back Boat Service or go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions.
Join me and Jimmy out for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Wes Reynolds is with us along with Randy McKay and Scott Rabelais. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Every Tuesday we chat with our guy Glenn West from Go 24/7 on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We do so now. Glenn, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Hunt. How are you?
Doing very well. Your thoughts on the Heisman ceremony on Saturday, from the production, the show itself, Jaden winning, and his speech?
Yeah, I mean, look, ESPN puts on a nice production for something that could be done in probably about 10 minutes, but they did a good job of highlighting all the guys that were there, and obviously with what Jaden did this year, no surprise that he ended up winning. It was a little closer vote than I think probably some down here expected, but he pulled it out and did a really nice job. I thought he gave a great acceptance speech, and the bright spot to me was him not only thanking his teammates and all the people and the support staff and his coaches, obviously, but I thought he gave a really nice touching end there with the Greg Brooks shout out. He's been on that train all season long, wearing the hoodie or shirt with the Pray for Greg Brooks on there, and I just thought that was a really nice way to close off his speech. And I think it was a very good evening, obviously for him, for his family, but also for LSU, the program, and just kind of what having two Heisman Trophy winners in the last 5 years means for the program going forward, and how that can affect the football program in the coming years.
Do you have a Heisman moment in your opinion?
I would say, I would go back to the fourth quarter against Missouri. I thought that, obviously he'd been kind of banged up in that game right before he came back and went on those 2 touchdown drives in the fourth quarter that won LSU the game, essentially. I would point to that as being kind of one of the big moments for me. Obviously, the Florida game was just, I think, the icing on the cake. I think that was the performance that really kind of tipped the scales in his way with the 350 passing, 200 rushing. But what he did against Missouri, I thought was very, very impressive, considering he was playing with essentially bruised ribs. They could barely breathe, from what he said after the game, and yet he led his team on 2 touchdown drives there in the end that really helped solidify the win. So I would say the Missouri game is the one that sticks out to me.
I watched that 35-yard run again yesterday, and when he scores against Missouri with those beat-up ribs, he can barely stand up in the end zone. He's like crawling after he gets into the end zone. That was some toughness on display there. So heck of a night for Jaden Daniels in New York over the weekend. Do you expect to see him in the bowl game?
I don't, and I'll preface this by saying we don't have any. He hadn't made any decision yet. I think he's been very, suave in his response about, he has to, kind of talk it over with his family and all that. And I just don't see that there's really a need for him to play in this game. I think that he's certainly, I think at this point in his career here, he's done enough, but he's also got to think about his future here. And look, I've just been looking at all the recent mock drafts, everything that's kind of come about with him winning the Heisman. He's going to be a top 10 pick. I mean, I would think he'd be a top 10 pick. I mean, ESPN's got him at number 4 in their latest mock draft in New York. So I would certainly say that he probably ultimately decides not to play, and that shouldn't obviously take away anything from what he's done in his career here. I think he's been phenomenal. He's done things the right way, and really the only way I could see him playing is if Malik kind of talks him into it, or for a couple of the guys that are also going to be probably off to the NFL decide to play and want him to come play for him one last game.
You mentioned Malik. Your reaction to the Biletnikoff? I know he wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah, he deservedly, he probably wasn't too happy about it. I think we talked about this last week, and I kind of thought that Marvin Harrison would have the inside track there. I mean, just I think if we're just putting season to season up in terms of this year, I don't think there's much of a debate. But I do think that voters for that award considered the career, considered obviously the name, and obviously what Marvin Harrison Jr. has done for the last 2 or 3 years at Ohio State. He's been one of the more dynamic receivers in college football now for multiple years, and Malik really just the last 2. But I think that look, Malik had a fantastic season. I would love to see him come and get the record for that bowl game. I think that'd be a great storyline for the bowl game to kind of cap his career off by getting that all-time receiving yards record at LSU. So understandably, he's very disappointed. I think just from an objective view, from the outside looking in, it wasn't a surprise to see Marvin Harrison win that award.
Let's talk about the bowl game. I'll leave this very open-ended intentionally. Like, what does this bowl game mean for LSU?
Yeah, I think it's, like with every bowl game that you're in at this time of year, it's just an opportunity, I think, to see what you got going forward. I mean, with some of these veterans, we don't obviously with Jaden and some of these other guys that could be off to the NFL or hitting the transfer portal. I think this is a great opportunity for you to get a good look at a guy like Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback, giving him all the first team reps he can handle in practice starting this week. I'm very interested to see kind of what the running back situation looks like with Caleb Jackson and what kind of development he can continue to make in that backfield while we wait on Logan Diggs and what decision he ultimately makes. Receivers, tight ends, offensive line, everything on the offense I think is going to be very interesting to watch, just because there's going to be some turnover there in terms of just the production that you're losing from this last season. And then from the defensive perspective, you want to see development. You want to see guys like Deshaun Womack out there a lot. You want to see Whit Weeks and certainly those young secondary guys that you're hoping are cornerstones of your program going forward. So this is definitely a developmental time. I think Brian Kelly hadn't been shy in saying how important he thinks these next 15 practices are going to be for LSU to kind of know what they have before they bring in the newcomers. And I think this is a good opportunity for a lot of these young pieces to kind of get a good early first impression going into the off season with the coaching staff.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7, with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show, is every single Tuesday. Any surprise in the transfer portal for LSU in terms of Terrence Welch jumps in, lands at Arizona State. Quincy Wiggins puts his name in as well. A couple of running backs. Your thoughts on the departures?
Yeah, for the most part, not surprised by by a lot of these departures. I'd say the one that probably stings is Wiggins, just from the perspective that he's an extremely athletic defensive lineman that I think probably could have used some development, and I think he just kind of looked around at the roster and the depth chart and just was wondering where the playing time might come in the future. But that's one that I'm sure LSU would have liked to have held on to, just in terms of some D-line depth, and certainly a guy with a lot of potential wherever he winds up. I'm sure he'll find a pretty good spot pretty quickly here as a former top 50 recruit. But yeah, I mean, look, Armani Goodwin, Kevontre Bradford, the Terrence Welch, these are guys. Marlon Martinez could probably be thrown in as a guy that is a little bit of a sting to lose, but you certainly understand it from their perspectives in terms of why they entered and what their goals are, I guess, from going into the portal. They'd like to get some playing time with the program, and certainly I think in Martinez's case, he could probably go in and be a starter somewhere. So yeah, I think not a ton of surprises so far. Still got obviously a couple weeks left before we see kind of how that all shakes out, but I think LSU's made out pretty good so far.
You and Sonny are plugged in over there. Go 24/7 as far as the transfer portal goes coming into LSU. Do you expect any activity within the week?
Sure, absolutely. They hosted Xavion Thomas, one of the more electric receivers in the SEC in terms of special teams as well. He's a guy that I think LSU moves on pretty quickly. Would expect him to certainly join at some point here in the next week or two. But there's also a lot of other guys that they're going after, defensive line. Certainly at receiver, a guy like Will Shepard is someone to keep an eye on. But there's lots of names out there. Jordan Gilbert, the safety from Texas A&M, is certainly one to keep an eye on as well. But they're full steam ahead with the 2024 class and trying to see if they can't make one or two big splash moves before the early signing period there as well. So recruiting is full steam ahead here before that December 20th early signing period.
Disappointing Saturday in the PMAC for LSU. They drop a 15-point contest to Kansas State. Your overarching thoughts on that one?
Yeah, they showed some flashes. I mean, look, the big thing with this team right now is that they can show it in stretches, in 3 or 4 minute stretches. I mean, they got down in the second half by 17 points or so, and then went on a big crazy 16-2 run, cut it down to 3. And then they get outscored 17-5 the rest of the way. I mean, there's so many ebbs and flows with this team right now. I'm sure they're still. I think that the biggest thing here now is that you've gotten past the first semester in terms of school and academics, and now you can really spend these next 5 or 6 weeks before school picks back up. Kind of focusing on what you need to work on. I'm looking at rebounding. Certainly the offensive efficiency needs to be a little bit better, and then obviously limiting turnovers as well is going to be a big thing I think LSU focuses on these next few weeks before conference play.
Thanks, Glenn. We'll talk next week.
All right, Hunt. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer, Go 24/7 with us every single Tuesday here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We appreciate him giving us some time. He and Sonny do a great job at Go 24/7. Glenn covers basketball, baseball, football. Sonny's got you covered on the recruiting trail as well. So appreciate him for giving us a little bit of time here on this Tuesday. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I tell you about it every single day. If you just go to the website, you'll see pictures of their fantastic work. You'll see testimonials of their satisfied customers. And you can request that consultation that I tell you to take advantage of each and every day because it's free. Just have David Duvall and his team come in and show you what they can do. I've seen so many pictures that he's shown me over the last year and a half of the closet work that they've done. And if you go to your closet every morning and you can't find stuff, or the light doesn't work, or there's shoes everywhere, or there's a suitcase shoved in the corner, or you just don't have room for the clothes that you've accumulated, let David Duvall and his team come in there and customize a closet for you. I can promise you this. It's going to be customized to your individual needs, and it's going to be beautiful aesthetically to look at. That's what he prides himself in. And they're not going to come in, knock it out, leave, and then 2 weeks later, everything starts falling apart. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. If you're concerned with making payments on your renovation, there are financing options available. You just got to ask David Duvall and his team about those. Great Christmas list. New bathroom, new closet, probably go over pretty well. Go to OneBathAndClosets.com and request that free consultation today. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. but our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Signing day, a little more than a week away. We'll visit with Shea Dixon, and Sean Salisbury stops by 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So my plan here to close out the hour, and we appreciate Glenn West for giving a little bit of time, was to talk about Shohei Ohtani's ridiculous contract. But I realize that that's not top of mind for everyone here in South Louisiana, and college football is. And I'm getting a lot of pushback in the Bayou Ford chat, and it's good pushback, on my thoughts on the bowl game and my thoughts that we've kind of phased these things out in terms of importance. And Brian Burgess and Shane LeBlanc and Nookie and a bunch of guys in the Bayou Ford chat are saying, well, why would you say it's a glorified spring game? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm going, well, here's my opinion on it. Texas A&M is going to play in the Texas Bowl. That's a bowl game. LSU played it with Leonard Fournette against Texas Tech. I watched every play. I was locked in. They're going to play in that same bowl game, the same one LSU played in with 38 guys and a wide receiver playing quarterback. Their second-team quarterback, who's probably healthy enough to play now, transferred out. He's gone. Their head coach been fired. He's not with the team. Their offensive coordinator has left. He's the offensive coordinator at Arkansas now. Their defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, has left. Their interim head coach is Elijah Robinson. He has taken a job as a defensive coordinator at Syracuse, and he's recruiting A&M commits, Dominic McKinley included, to Syracuse while he's working for Texas A&M, and 14 of their guys are in the transfer portal. This is not the Texas A&M football team anymore. They have no coaches left. They have half their starters are gone. Like the defensive line is shot, and they don't have any quarterbacks left. Like that's not their team. So why would I put any weight or importance on that? I don't believe that game matters to their program. For LSU, this team's entire identity was based in the Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round wide receivers being the best offense in college football. In my opinion, they're not even going to be there. Last year, Purdue, their coach was gone. They brought Drew Brees in to help with the team. Their All-American, All-Big Ten wide receiver left. They were a shell of themselves. And you say, well, then why watch them? And I'm going, well, I'm probably not going to watch the Motor City Bowl or the Sun Bowl. I'm going to watch LSU to see the young guys, which is the same way I would watch a spring game. I wouldn't really care about the outcome. I'm just curious to see what they look like. And then I've got guys saying, well, why don't they cancel? Well, I don't really need the bowl games. He said, well, then there's only 4 teams that matter. Well, there's 4 teams that matter this year in December. And then you move it to 12, and everybody still matters in October and November. And Shane LeBlanc says an A&M can choose not to play and let other teams play in there. Well, there's financial stuff tied to it. So unless you're going to pay the SEC its bowl revenue, which is the only reason we're doing all of this anyway, because when football's on, you can put a point spread next to it, and people will bet on it, and people will watch it because people like to watch live sports. And that's why we do this. We don't do it for 10 wins. We do it because there's money involved. And when you open the transfer portal in December and you fire coaches on Thanksgiving and hire coaches in early December, the team that qualified for that bowl game no longer exists. That's the way that it looks. So when the best players don't play and the coaches don't coach, and Ohio State's playing in an Access Bowl, a New Year's Six Bowl, whatever you want to call it, and their quarterback of an 11-1 football team, who's a 5-star recruit in his first year as a quarterback, leaves before they even play, that's not their team anymore. I can't get emotionally invested. I will watch the playoff. I will watch LSU with a keen interest on how their young players look. And I'm very interested in what Garrett Nussmeier does and if Caleb Jackson can run for 110 yards and if Shelton Sampson can make a diving catch in the end zone. I'm very interested to watch that. But I'm not going to sit here and sell you a bill of goods on you got to win 10 games. This has got to be your 10th win. I'm just not. I don't know that the Purdue win propelled LSU into the offseason last year. I don't know that getting embarrassed with a wide receiver at quarterback in the Texas Bowl 2 years ago held LSU back. I just can't quite get there. So it's okay for reasonable minds to differ. I'm not screaming and yelling saying that everyone in the Bayou Ford chat that disagrees with me is an idiot or should shut up. Or no, not at all. If you want to get fired up for this and it's a big deal to you, like it will be for some of the players that play in the game, like, great. I can't put a lot of importance on a bowl game like I would try to once upon a time. Those days are just gone, in my opinion, to me. All right, that'll close out hour number 1 here. Got a lot in hour number 2. We'll start things up with Sharie Ishee on the Saints and Pels. Come back after SportsCenter.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee. $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee. And all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride One day they found him.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert today will undergo season-ending surgery on his fractured right index finger. Easton Stick will take over as LA's starter. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, in an interview with 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City, expressed regret for his sideline outburst on Sunday when he yelled at the officials after the offsides call on receiver Kadarius Toney wiped out what would have been the go-ahead touchdown late in the loss to the Bills. Mahomes, likely frustrated with his struggling receivers, but can't call them out publicly, notes ESPN's Jeff Saturday.
They all know they dropped the ball. They all know they can't line up sometimes. They all know they're running poor routes. But all that needs to be handled inside the building. It does not need to be a public acknowledgement. Everybody else in the world knows. Captain Obvious, we've all seen it. Don't be that guy to separate your locker room. He's too smart for that.
Jeff Saturday on First Take. NBA, the Suns without Kevin Durant against the Warriors tonight because of a left ankle sprain. They do get Bradley Beal back from a back injury. Duke transfer Riley Leonard, one of the top players and quarterbacks in the transfer portal, announced that he is committing to Notre Dame.
Are you overwhelmed by insurance? Make it easy. Get all your insurance in one place with Geico. Plus, get 24/7 claim support and on-the-go policy access with the award-winning Geico mobile app. See how easy insurance can be and go to geico.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show, Tuesday edition, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Thanks for hanging out with us. I always tell you on Tuesday, if you're looking for something to do, head on out to Plucker Sports Trivia. I will not tell you that today. Plucker's having their annual holiday party this evening, so the employees will be having some fun as opposed to serving you beer. And that's okay. We'll take this week off, and we'll be back in action next Tuesday for Plucker Sports Trivia. So if you're listening and you usually come out on Tuesdays, take this week off. Enjoy some time at home this evening. We're back in action, like I said, next Tuesday. Speaking of back in action, Sharie Ishee, WDSU, back in action with us, usually with us at 2:30 on Tuesdays. Joins a little bit early today. Appreciate you being flexible, Sharie. How are you?
Jaden won, Saints won, Pelicans beat the best team in the NBA. Things are great. Everyone's
wow, back. Ray of sunshine. Sharie Ishee just bringing all the sunshine and rainbows to us here on this Tuesday. How much sunshine in the Superdome on Sunday? How many rainbows in the Superdome on Sunday as the Saints won by 22 over a pretty poor Panthers team?
Zero.
Wow.
That's awful. That was hideous. I mean, even for the first time in a while, Dennis Allen finally said something that was meaningful. We need to play a better brand of football. He understood how bad his team played in a win over the worst team in the NFL. That was awful football. I can't remember the last time I've seen football that bad offensively. For Derek Carr to have 37 passing yards with about 8:15 left in the game is inexcusable. It is inexcusable. I don't care if it's him, offensive line, Pete Carmichael, receivers. That cannot happen. That is absolutely hideous football. That was not great. I think everyone echoed the same thing I'm saying. That was not great football. Only Derek Carr was the only one being optimistic, which is nothing new. He's just saying a win is a win. But sometimes to me and a lot of other people and players and coaches, a win sometimes isn't a win.
You know, I would be okay with an ugly win if I thought the defense could sustain giving up, really low point totals. Because winning is winning at a certain level, but when you haven't proven you can be that consistent defensively, maybe not. Did you see anything better on defense this week, or is that just Carolina's ineptitude?
I thought the defense, it's a little bit of both. Like, Bryce Young missed on quite a few throws. If he connected on 3 of his throws, the game would have been completely different. There was one before the end of the half he missed on a post route down the middle of the field that would have been a touchdown. A few early in the game to Adam Thielen and one to I couldn't remember who it was, but there was a couple down the sideline that he absolutely missed, underthrew, overthrew. But it was a little bit of both. I thought the pressure was better this week. They made sure to pressure Bryce Young throughout the game, and they rattled him a little bit with the pressure. And some of the missed throws were on the pressure, but, man, there were times where he broke the pocket, and that's what he does well. That's the one thing that they hated about that part of the defensive strategy is that they let him, beat him with his feet and his legs throughout the game. But other than that, I mean, I thought the Saints did all right. Outside of the Bryce Young scrambling, they did what they had to do against a guy who's really struggling. He just has not found his footing in the NFL, considering the fact that they're playing musical coaching chairs right now.
We talked a lot of offense, talked a lot of defense. Are they working out kickers this week? Because you can't miss sub 30-yard kicks.
You better hope. I mean, at this point, they probably should have moved on a few weeks ago. I mean, shanking a 29-yard field goal. I mean, that cannot happen. That's absolutely no excuses for shanking a 29-yard field goal. That just goes to show you how bad that the game was between punting, kicking field goals, the offense putting it in the end zone when they needed to early in the game. It was. I've been saying this for a while. I'm surprised Groupie's still on the team. It's a little shocker to me. He should have been playing for his job after the Texans game. And look at him, he's still here. I guess they're not giving up on a young player for once.
Did it strike you that they, after the missed 29-yarder, that they decided not to kick a 56-yarder?
I think that was in the back of their head. They're like, he just missed a 29-yard field goal. Knowing him, he would have probably made that 56-yard field goal. Just how things go with him. I mean, look, it's going to be tough for me to think that they're going to move on from him this year. But I think after this year, one of the many of things they're going to have to evaluate because that it's just not been good. I mean, punting, kicking, this offense, coaching, it's just all been a mess.
They ran the ball a little bit in the first half of the game. They got Williams going a little bit. They got Kamara going a little bit. Is there something to build on there?
Sure, yes. But then they went away from it.
They did?
That's the crazy part. They could have continued to pound it and pound it and pound it. Then they was like, all right, well, let's try to throw the ball a little bit. But when they tried to throw the ball a little bit, they were throwing horizontally. Like, why? Why are you throwing sideline to sideline? Just run the ball if you're going to do that. Then they were trying to run a screenplay near midfield before the end of the half. It just got blown up. And then there were some things that were just so mind-blowing, like with that offense. I mean, they should have just ran the rock for most of the game. They should have thrown the ball no more than 15 times and run it the rest of the game because Jamal and Alvin were just running through that defense. And that's, not a bad defense either, but they're like the seventh ring pass defense. Why are you throwing that many passes when you were running the ball successfully early and often in that game?
Getting a lot of differing opinions on this. Is it a big deal that Derek Carr got into another yelling match on the field with a teammate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt, because it's not the first time. And we've seen it 2 other times already, and it's got to stop. It's just, this isn't, I'm going to put it the way Lance Moore said on our show Game On Sunday. If you are scoring 40-plus points a game, your offense is successful, the team is winning, you're like a 9-4 team, and it happens once, it's understandable. But you're not a good team. You're not having a good season as Derek Carr is having a poor season. The offense is struggling. That can't happen. That cannot continue to happen. And I just think Eric McCoy had enough. He snapped, even though he said it was his fault. After the game, he apologized. Both guys apologized each other, saying one was in the right. They're both in the right, and they were both in the wrong. They apologized. But still, the quarterback is the leader of the team. You're not supposed to let those things happen. Everyone sees it on TV. I went and tweeted the video. It is just like, it's just not a good look. It's got to stop. At some point in time, you have to stop arguing with your teammates on the field.
All of a sudden, the Giants are coming in rolling after that win last night. Is this still the very, very winnable game that we thought it was a couple of weeks ago?
No, you know why? Because Tommy DeVito is a mobile quarterback. Okay. There's no such thing as a winnable game. You can't say any game is winnable anymore, just from watching this past game against the Panthers. No such thing as a winnable game. They play solid defense. They run the ball with Saquon, and Tommy DeVito is able to be a mobile quarterback, and that's going to give him problems. I mean, what makes you think and that you're going to be confident in the defense that can slow down a mobile quarterback, a young mobile quarterback? It's not going to be easy, huh? They're going to have to be on their P's and Q's defensively against Tommy DeVito. I thought it was a winnable game 4 weeks ago. Now I don't know where I'm at with this game.
What if they do win? They're a 6-point favorite right now.
Okay, well, yeah, they should win, right? They should win. Like, they should have won most of their games. But if they do win, they're going to be in a decent spot to win the NFC South. So I think the toughest game remaining on their schedule will be next week, short week in LA against the Rams. That's another team that's so up and down, nobody knows which one will show up. these games after the Giants are 3 games against 3 teams that you don't know which team is going to show up, how they're going to show up. You just have no idea how it's going to go in any of these games because they're all teams that are just who have no identity really. They have no identity and they're just struggling. You just don't know which version of each team is going to show up.
I'm curious what you think the environment will be like in the Dome based on what you saw against Detroit, what you saw against Carolina.
I kind of think the Giants fans are going to travel. It's a December game. They want to get away. Everyone likes to come down here, blah, blah, blah. The Saints will sell their tickets because, quote, economics. It's an economical decision, which I don't agree with. And that's what Mickey Loomis said last week, that he felt like it's an economic decision. He didn't like seeing it, but he understands, which is not the truth, why people are selling the tickets. But I expect Giants fans to be down there. Their team is rolling. They're feeling good with Tommy DeVito. They're going to want to come down here and see if their team can, play for a wild card because most of these teams are in the wild card hunt still with 4 games left. So it's going to be an interesting atmosphere hunt. The last 2 games were interesting. You're going to get the same type of boos that you heard the last 2 games, even though the Saints players they don't like it. But don't tell fans to do what to do, man, with their indisposable income. Kind of like Matt Moscona says, can't tell fans what to do with their money. So if they're going to pay for it, they're going to go there and voice their displeasures or happiness.
Sharie Ishee, our guest, WDSU. The Pelicans got drilled in that game against the Lakers in Vegas, but they come back with a really nice performance against Minnesota. So what are your thoughts on kind of the juxtaposition between those two?
All right, so I think that might have been somewhat of a mini wake-up call for Zion Williamson and the rest of the team. They were called out by Shaq, by Charles, after that game on TNT, 44-point blowout. Lakers are just a better team. They honestly are a better team. They have a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's a bad matchup. But Zion's the one who took the brunt of it, and they called him out for being just not giving good effort and energy. And I think he took it to heart a little bit. He's been hearing it since that loss and showed up big time yesterday. 36 points is a season high. And I think C.J. McCollum and the rest of the team, took the challenge of Willie Green and took them up on it, and they played really well. I understand Anthony Edwards didn't play, but still, they're a good team with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid. They have some bigs on that team that make it so difficult for you to go to the paint. But that's what Zion Williamson did yesterday. He went to the paint and went at those guys and created, and got a lot of and-ones too. So I think that's kind of like the team you need to see. Now, will you see it consistently? I don't know, because that's what Zion said. We have to be like this team every night when we play. And if they get that version of this team every night they play, watch out. Now they have some winnable games coming up that they should win. Hunt. They have 10 wins against 500-plus teams, which is the most in the NBA, but some bad losses against the Jazz a couple times and the Bulls. You got to beat the teams like the Wizards, Hornets, and Spurs on this road trip coming up.
Sharie, we appreciate it. See you next week.
All right, man. Hopefully I'll bring some more goodness next week and some more positivity like today.
We'll see if they can handle the Giants on Sunday. That's Sharie Ishee, WDSU, with us every single Tuesday. We'll have Cody Worsham with us. He's, of course, brand manager over there at LSU, and they've had a busy month here leading up to the Heisman Trophy. Did a fantastic job. So we'll chat with Cody in 15 minutes. When we come back, ESPN wrote a story, the top 10 quarterbacks in the transfer portal. What makes sense for LSU, if any? I'll tell you next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows.
Wednesday's OTB, a Christmas edition of Flustering, as Matt Flynn joins the show. Plus, what do the Saints need to do to overcome the Italian stallion? Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Transfer portal is popping off, as they say. Folks jumping in by the truckload, and certainly LSU doing its due diligence to add to its 2024 roster over the next couple of weeks, as well as get ready for a bowl game against Wisconsin. And I think we can all agree that secondary, defensive line are places where LSU has to look in the portal. Wouldn't surprise anyone if a kick returner and wide receiver jumped in there. Always looking for offensive linemen if those make sense as well. And I would suggest you're pretty much always looking for a quarterback. Quarterback transfers rule college football now. That's just the way it is. You look across the Southeastern Conference this year, Max Johnson was starting games at A&M as a transfer. LSU had Jaden Daniels as a transfer that was stepping in and playing. Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders at Ole Miss are transfers. Auburn's quarterbacks were transfers. Look at Florida. Graham Mertz is a transfer. Joe Milton at Tennessee is a transfer. Like, it's just Spencer Rattler's. Everybody's quarterback almost is a transfer. Far more quarterbacks are transfers than are high school develops. The Carson Becks and Jalen Milrose are the exception to the rule. Now, with LSU, with Jaden Daniels moving on, you feel, obviously, if you're an LSU fan, you've been watching the program and following it, that Garrett Nussmeier is next up. That's the opinion. He's put in his dues. He's been here for 3 years. He's never pouted. He's never entered the transfer portal. He's been a great teammate to multiple starting quarterbacks in front of him. And now it's his time. So the question is, well, do you go at a quarterback? You got Ricky Collins there. You got a freshman in Colin Hurley that's coming into this class. You feel like you've got a reasonable chance to go get Bryce Underwood in the next class, and you feel like the pipeline's kind of there. But then I have to stop and go, wait a second. The pipeline doesn't matter in most places. The pipeline is December, whenever it opens up, and who shows up. Does that apply to LSU this year? I don't know what they're going to do, but if I were in charge, it would. And ESPN wrote a column today, best fits for the top 10 transfer portal quarterbacks. Cam Ward from Washington State, Dante Moore from UCLA, Will Howard at Kansas State, DJ Uiagalelei from Oregon State, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, Cal McCord at Ohio State, Will Rogers at Mississippi State, MJ Morris at NC State, Tyler Van Dyke at Miami, Riley Leonard at Duke, who has committed to Notre Dame. That's the list they give of quarterbacks that are in the mix. And none of these have LSU as the best fit per ESPN. I think ESPN does some of this based on what they've heard and where they think guys are likely to go. I think ESPN does some of this based on skill set, fit, coaches, all that kind of stuff. So I started to look at the list and what makes sense. And quite frankly, if Cam Ward picks up the phone and calls you, you take the phone call. Because Cam Ward was 4th in the country in passing yards. He threw 25 touchdowns and 7 picks. And he's an experienced dude. But it feels like he's probably he's visiting Miami this week. They say Ohio State's the best fit. I haven't heard any buzz connecting Cam Ward to LSU. Kyle McCord, he picks up the phone, you answer. That's a guy who won 11 football games this year, was a 5-star recruit, number 27 in the country in passing yards this year. Again, I have no reason to believe he's in a hurry to get to LSU, but that's a guy whose phone call I answer. And then you get to some more of the nuanced things that aren't proven winners, but these are a little more nuanced. Like Will Rogers. Will Rogers is 851 yards away from becoming the SEC's all-time leading passer, and he's entered the transfer portal out of Mississippi State. He looked absolutely lost this year. I don't know what he wants to do. It seems like Jeff Levy would probably be a pretty good guy to throw the football for. So if Will Rogers grew up an old Mississippi State fan, feels like that would be a good fit. But if he's going to leave, is that a guy you'd be interested in if you're LSU? I don't know the answer to that. My gut says probably. What about Dante Moore? I bring up Dante Moore. I didn't know about Dante Moore, but when I saw his name on this and I saw the last sentence of his blurb, I just went and looked. And the last sentence of this blurb on ESPN.com, he's not quite the same runner, but as a passer, he has a lot of the same traits Jaden Daniels possesses. Okay, that's a pretty good sell. Now, Dante Moore is a freshman, and he went to UCLA this year, and he was pretty average. He threw for 11 touchdowns, 9 picks. He completed about 54% of his throws, 179 yards per game, but he's a freshman, and UCLA is not great. Maybe that's a depth piece you want to add. That fits in line with some of the guys who transferred in the SEC and didn't necessarily start right away. TJ Finley did that at Auburn. Now, he eventually got to the starting position, but he didn't start there. Spencer Sanders transferred in. Now, he had played a lot more. That's a senior as opposed to a freshman, but he came in, competed, and he didn't win the job. JT Daniels transferred to Georgia and didn't win the job. He lost his spot to Stetson Bennett. So maybe that's a depth piece you want to add that has some specific skills that look a little bit like the quarterback you just had. And trust me, I'm not trying to sell you on Dante Moore winning the Heisman. I'm just saying you've got some things in your offense that ESPN thinks may fit a guy, especially if he's a backup and he adds depth to your room. And the one that has kind of generated a little buzz here in Baton Rouge that I'll spend the end of this segment on is MJ Morris. MJ Morris went to North Carolina State, And I will tell you that I did a segment on MJ Morris back in early November as I look at the calendar. Not because I thought he would come to LSU, but because the decision he made was so odd to me in such a 2023 situation. MJ Morris went to NC State and was playing his sophomore season with the understanding that Devin Leary had left. They had brought in a new quarterback, but MJ was going to redshirt this year. That was the plan on Labor Day. Well, NC State wasn't playing very well. And they went to MJ Morris and said, hey, we need you to play. So we came in against Marshall, and he threw 4 touchdowns, and they won a shootout 48-41. Turned it over 3 times in that game, but they won a shootout, and he threw 4 touchdowns. Then he played against Duke the next week, and they got beat. He took his lumps in that game, got sacked 4 times, threw a pick, only threw for 193 yards on 40 attempts. Wasn't good. But then they played Clemson 2 weeks later, and they won, and he didn't turn the ball over. And they beat Clemson 24-17. And then the next week they played Miami. And he wasn't great in that game either, but they won. And the numbers are very pedestrian. 719 yards passing in 4 games. That's not 200 a game. Completion about 56%. 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. Again, nothing special. But they were winning games with MJ Morris at quarterback. And that was the 4th game he played. So we looked at their head coach and he said, I'm redshirting. I know it's November the 4th. I know there are 4 weeks left. I'm only playing 4 games because I'm redshirting. That's not a decision I think we would have seen 15 years ago or 10 years ago. But it happens now. And before they changed the rules, Garrett Nussmeier said, I'm not playing in the bowl game because I want to keep that year of eligibility. And at this point, if you're an LSU fan, you're probably glad he did because guess what? He's still got a couple left. So MJ Morris made that decision personally, and now he's in the transfer portal, and he's got 3 years to play, and LSU is linked to him in some ways. And I would add him if I was LSU. I would take a shot on MJ Morris. Likely, very likely, to be your backup quarterback this year. And if he needs to come in and play, he's a mobile guy, can run a little bit. He's got a little bit of experience playing ACC football. It'll be his 3rd year in college. Seems like a good backup fit to me. I don't know that he's a huge threat to Garrett Nussmeier. He could prove that wrong in the spring. But if I was LSU, I think it would be short-sighted to say, okay, we got Nussmeier. We've got a couple of backups that are young players in Collins and Hurley. We're good there. I think that would be a mistake. I'd go and get one of these guys if they came available to me. And when you listen to the recruiting guys and the guys who follow this stuff a little bit more closely, they say LSU is very much in the mix. And we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But MJ Morris is a guy I would keep your eye on. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, Cody Worsham talking about all that has gone into that kid, Jaden, winning the Heisman Trophy.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
This holiday season, all your wishes are coming true on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Been thinking about joining FanDuel? No better time to get in on the action. App's easy to use, wide range of betting options. They include spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, knowledgeable bonus method expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet. The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you.
Join me and Jimmy out for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in Mid-City. Wes Reynolds is with us along with Randy McKay and Scott Rabelais. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back to the Jim's Firearms Hotline we go. Cody Worsham, Associate AD and Chief Brand Officer over at LSU, is with us. You can probably take a deep breath about now, but I can't promise you that. Been a fun month for you, Cody?
Hey, Hunt. Good to be with you. It's been a great month. It's been fun, man. It's always great when the LSU Tigers do something outstanding, and Jaden Daniels helped us do that this past weekend. So it's been fun.
Seems to be a rather frequent occurrence over there on campus, but this one was a lot of fun. When do you start thinking about the potential that Jaden Daniels can win the Heisman Trophy?
I think those conversations started last year, Hunt. I think we, as a group, started having those conversations, not necessarily in a formal setting, but after we beat Alabama last year, you look at what his talent brings to the table, his ability to win big games, his ability to make big plays. We're kind of sitting there like, all right, if this guy comes back, like he's coming back as a potential Heisman frontrunner. So I think we started thinking about it then and letting it marinate in the back of our mind. And then as the season gets underway and Our thing is we never wanted to do anything too soon. I know, for example, Oregon had billboards with Bo up before the season, and we didn't want to do anything too soon. We wanted to kind of capitalize on the big moment when it happened. So, we had conversations before the season, and then as the season got underway and, he had a resume under his belt, we got together as a group and said, all right, let's start planning this thing out.
So I realize how powerful social media can be. I know how powerful a Times Square billboard can be. I'm curious as to who you're communicating with when you're trying to promote Jaden, whether it's statistically or highlights or that kid Jaden doc. Like, where are you directing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, first it's all hands on deck. So it's Michael Bonnet and the sports information team looking up a ton of stats. And, I like to look at stats too. So looking at a ton of stats, it's, Dave Haskin and his marketing team, they have contacts with Out Front and, billboard access for us. It's, our creative team with Brandon Barrio on social media and Lindsey Thompson, design and graphics, and our video team with Emily Dixon, making episodes. It really is everybody. Hey, take your specialty, think about how you can contribute in this effort, and then let's put it all together. And that's really it. And that's where I think we're super lucky for two things. One, we're lucky to have the investment of Scott Woodward, Kelly Zinberg, Osprey, our leadership, to where they're, able to staff us in a way that we can kind of snap our fingers and say go and start executing on this thing. But two, and this is the most important one, Jaden Daniels had a really strong case for the Heisman Trophy.
Yes.
Like, he had great numbers, great performances, he had great moments. He was the best player in college football. So to quote Tommy Boy, it's not like we were trying to sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman wearing white gloves. Like, we had a product that we could sell. It was the best candidacy in the country. So then it's about how do you tell this story in a way that people remember it, that's different from how other people are telling their story, that's distinct and that's compelling.
And y'all obviously did a masterful job of that, and that is y'all's literal job to do so. I'm curious how involved Jaden needs to be, and at what point do you involve Jaden Daniels in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jaden was, we try to do everything in a way that's not cumbersome to the student athlete and a burden to them. Obviously, there's going to be some natural asks of the student athlete. That's where Jaden was awesome. Like, pretty much anything we asked him to do, he was good to do. Now, he wasn't sitting there. I think you can tell this by his personality. Like, hey, I'd like to do these 10 things, right? Like, this is how I want to do my campaign. That's not him. Like, he's focused on football. But if we said, hey, will you let us follow you for, your 5:30 film session and then interview you right after for a 4-part series? He said, yeah, just come tomorrow. And so we did it the next day. If it was, hey, can you come on a Sunday to the XR studio in the LSU Digital Media Center and, maybe give us 20 minutes of your time so that we can do a video shoot with this cool backdrop behind you? Yeah, I'll be there on Sunday. So he was very willing to engage, very willing to help. I think that's a credit, too, to Brandon Barrio, Matt Tornquist, Gus Start, Lindsey Thompson, that team that's within football. They're around those guys every day. So they have a relationship with Jaden. Michael Bonnet's the same way. He's around that team every day, and so they have those relationships. So it's not like, somebody that he doesn't know coming in to ask him, will you do this thing? It's someone he's with every day that has always been respectful of his time, saying, hey, will you do this? We think this can help you. And then Jaden got that and was just super willing to do whatever we asked.
Digging up stats, been done a long time. Highlight videos have come in vogue and have been around for quite a few years. A 4-part mini doc on a Heisman Trophy candidate has not been done very often. Where did that idea come from, and what was going into executing it?
Yeah, it kind of came along from a different area. So we have a TV show this year, The Path, that was on ESPNU. Mm-hmm. And so going into the Alabama game, we knew our offense had been doing historic things. And so, Brandon kind of thought of the idea, hey, why don't we get the head coach, the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, sit him down, ask him to talk about the offense and Jaden. So we did that. So we had BK, Joe Sloan, Mike Denbrock, probably 30-minute interviews with them with a lot of good quotes about Jaden and then the offense as a whole. And so we're sitting there after the Florida game where he, makes history, and we're like, we have all these interviews. If we get Jaden for an interview, we could kind of go back and do kind of like we did with That's Joe in 2019, which is a shorter 4-part series that we did from a different angle this time around. But That's Joe was not in That's Joe. It was all about the people that kind of watched him grow up playing football. And so we said we can get Jaden in, and it can be that kid Jaden. And And so we got the interview, and then Emily Dixon and her team, Giovanni Lamani, kind of led the point on it, who's our gymnastics videographer. He just won an Emmy. Like, he's unbelievably talented. He took the lead on, you know, the interviews and piecing everything together. We scripted it, and he came back with this great 4-part series. So that was just, hey, we have this great video team. They just won 2 Emmys. Like, how can we get them involved here? And they stepped up and rose to the occasion. And Jaden was more than willing to give us his time.
Cody Worsham's our guest, Associate AD and Chief Brand Officer over at LSU. How much did Joe's run prepare the department over there for what they would do 4 years later?
I think it was a good starting point. Certainly gave us a bit of a checklist to work off of. I remember Brandon pulling up our project management software, and he basically looked at, like, this is everything we did for Jaden in 19. And so we kind of looked at that checklist, and we're like, okay, this is a good starting point. It was different, too, though. Joe didn't have the competition that Jaden did. We kind of knew going in that Joe had the thing won. We very intentionally didn't even mention the word Heisman with Joe until after the SEC championship game. And even then, we just put out a graphic that said Heisman with Joe on it. We didn't even, put it in the word in the tweet. So we were a little more subtle about it. This year, we were a little more proactive, and we said, hey, we got to get Jaden's name out there, make the case. He's made it with this play. Like, we've got to give him the support. There's a little more competition. And so we were a little more overt with it. But I think we tried to be very strategic about not being too overt. We're not out here, overdoing it. He's got a strong enough case. Let's just make the case as it is. We don't have to pull out all the bells and whistles. And then, what worked in 2019? What can we bring back? What didn't work in 2019? So it was a good launching pad for sure to have that little bit of experience.
Who over there in your department, maybe you, has Times Square billboard guy's cell phone number logged away somewhere?
Well, I have it now. That was Dave. Dave Haskin oversees our marketing, and so anytime we go billboards, it's Dave and his team throwing it together. And then I was up there in New York, and so he gave the morning of, he gave me the guy's number, and we're kind of chatting. Just make sure that, hey, we've got a small window here. We've got an hour. We got to get Jaden out in front of the thing. So let's make sure everything lines up, and they were great to work with.
It looks awesome. It's fantastic. I know there were billboards that were put up in some other places around the country. What goes into that decision?
Same thing. That's same network of contacts. And then, hey, we're, a lot of it with the campaign is we want to reach voters. Like, we know generally who the voters are. We know where they are. A lot of them are college football media who are on social media all the time. So, and a lot of them were covering games that weekend. They were covering, the Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas, or they were at Michigan, Ohio State for a game, or they were, we tried to put it where they would be, but not only so they could see when they're driving by, but then you see it on social media, and there's that little bit of edge to it, that little bit of, swagger to it. I think that's unique to the LSU brand. That then you get people talking about it. So you have a piece of paid media that becomes a piece of owned media that you put on your social media, and then you get earned media off of it, and you got Bleacher Report writing about it, and ESPN talking heads writing about it. So it gets a little snowball momentum, which is nice.
I think it's natural for people in any industry, whatever you may be, if you're in the automobile industry or an attorney or you're in radio, like that you speak to other people that are in your line of work nationally. I'm curious what people that you speak with, if that's the case, about LSU's brand and just how strong that is based on what's gone on this campus over the last 5 or 8 years. What's your experience been when you talk to people around the country?
Yeah, I mean, you have your network of kind of professional contacts, people that do the same thing that you do at other places. Probably 4 years ago, the most important social media account to me was Twitter. Now I probably spend a little more time on LinkedIn, like connecting with brand thought leaders in other places, just to bounce ideas off of them, get feedback from them. So I think another thing that we've been big on is analytics and metrics. We've invested with a company called Sprinkler that helps us measure all this. So we can actually see, like, how do people feel about us subjectively? How do they feel about us objectively? What do the numbers say? How do we compare to Washington and Oregon? How many followers do we have versus them? How many posts are we putting up versus them? What time of day are they posting? What time of day are we posting? We can kind of look at it on a super granular level. Which to me is important because, as you know, Hun, I'm a recovering journalist and storyteller. And when you're a storyteller, you're looking for assets, you're looking for quotes, and you're looking for interviews, and you're looking for stats. And so I kind of approach the branding piece the same way. Like, anything that can be an asset for us because it's just a story, and it's just we're trying to persuade someone of something. Whether it's the greatness of the LSU brand or the uniqueness of the LSU brand or the case for Jaden Daniels is a Heisman. I want every asset that I can get to kind of piece that story together. And then, the biggest brand asset is winning. And Scott's done an incredible job hiring coaches that win a lot, that bring in great staffs, great players, and win. I mean, I could be the best at what I do, which I'm far from. And if we weren't winning any games, the LSU brand would not be doing well, right? Or it would certainly have a lower ceiling. When you're winning a bunch of games and you got a guy that's putting up 5,000 total yards and 50 touchdowns, like that's a very strong asset for anyone to use.
Cody is an alum. That brand is on fire, and it makes me proud every single day. Y'all are doing an unbelievable job. Congrats on a great work and continued success, and keep it rolling over there.
Thanks, Hunt. Anytime.
Cody Worsham, Associate AD, Chief Brand Officer over at LSU. I mean, that's kind of been what I've been talking about for the last week and a half with all the sports and all the success and all the awards and all the notoriety. The brand's on fire, and that's a really, really good thing. There's a lot of winning going on over there at LSU, and Cody and his team just do brilliant work. I think we're inundated with it because we're in the middle, but I think there's a lot of people that are outside this bubble that see what's going on, and that's because of that department and what they do over there. So we appreciate a little bit of time from Cody. We'll come back and close things out here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric, certified Generac generator dealer, premier Generac generator dealer. Melissa and Neil Boudreaux have been operating Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years down here in South Louisiana. We have power outages. We've got storms, hurricanes, thunderstorms, ice storms, whatever the case may be. We lose power. You can protect yourself against that with Boudreaux's Electric. All their generators come with a free 10-year warranty. And if you think about it this way, for the life of that 10-year warranty, $5.20 a day gives you the peace of mind to know that if you're at home and the power goes out, you don't have to worry about it. If you evacuate for a hurricane and the power goes out, you return to a house that's cooled and the fridge has been running and your alarm system's up and moving. Like, it's just a great asset to your home. And I'll tell you this, if you call them between now and the end of the year, here in December, they're going to give you significant savings if you tell them you're a listener of the Hunt Palmer Show. Call this number, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389, and let Boudreaux's Electric save you money on a Generac generator today. Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
This Sunday, as you can catch 3 different NFL games, we start with the noon kickoff. It's the Buccaneers and Packers. Immediately following that, it's Cowboys and Bills. And then the night game, the Ravens at Jaguars. Tune in to catch all 3 of those games right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust invite you to bling in the holidays. Register today at 1045ESPN.com to win a $10,000 custom piece of jewelry handcrafted by Stuart Selassie himself. Bling in the holidays with Citizens Bank and Trust, Selassie Jewelry, and 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
No sports trivia tonight at Pluckers. Pluckers staff holiday party, so we'll take the week off. You usually come hang out with us on Tuesdays at the Nicholson location at 8:30. Don't do that tonight because it'll be closed, so you won't enjoy your time. But we'll be back next week for a little bit of Pluckers sports trivia. Tomorrow's show, we'll have J.D. Pickell of On3 Sports with us, talking some college football. Talk transfer portal with JD. It's a What If Wednesday, so we'll get into a little bit of that. And she's got a basketball game that we'll briefly mention tomorrow as well. But today, we need to close up shop a little, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. TNT's Ernie Johnson will go into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame tonight. Take it or leave it.
You got to take it. Ernie's obviously incredible at his job. He's been great kind of wherever he's been. But the chemistry that they found on that set for the NBA on TNT and TBS is just it's just unbelievable to have Chuck and Shaq. And not everyone can make Shaq work. Not everyone can make Chuck and Shaq work. They're dynamic personalities that are can be hard to wrangle in at times, or Shaq can be a little understated at times. And so for Ernie to be able to play off their ridiculous innuendos and their kind of wordplay at times and their arguments at times, and then you got Kenny doing what he does. Like, they've just struck gold with that show, and Ernie's the perfect guy to run point on it, to kind of use a basketball term. So he's fantastic. He's great on golf when he does that as well.
Yep.
But the true magic that he's got right now in his career is what they do on that NBA desk. And so, yeah, absolutely a Hall of Famer.
Tony Finau announced last night that he's staying on the PGA Tour and not moving to LIV. Good move for Big Tone. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it from my perspective.
Yeah.
But, look, the Rahm thing bummed me out big time. And if a lot of the people are right and that's going to be what brings golf back together, and it means that they're going to play a worldwide tour and the PGA Tour doesn't exist and the best players in the world do play, but some of it's in Dubai and some of it's in Thailand and some of it is in Ireland, and they do this big world thing because there's more money out there, and then the Saudis control more of it. Like, it'll bum me out massively, but it is better than splitting it in half. So I don't know what the result is. I just know I liked it the way it was, and the fact that it's not that anymore is a huge bummer to me, and getting it back to what it once was is probably an impossibility. But I'm glad Tony Finau's hanging around because I'm going to watch the PGA Tour in 2024, and I'm not going to watch LIV, and so him being there is good because he's a good player. So I'm happy about that personally.
We talked about a little bit earlier, but Zion Williamson, 36 points in their win over the Timberwolves last night. Zion was motivated by the weight critics. Take it or leave it.
I honestly don't know what makes Zion tick.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could take it or leave it. I think he's probably just – here's what my guess is. He's an immensely gifted, freakish physical specimen that at times is unstoppable, but at times is very stoppable or hurt or MIA or needs to rest or out of shape or whatever the case may be. This falls perfectly in line with Ryan Russillo's tweet from last week. Said it's the first time I've seen Zion in person. He's going to score 30 on somebody in the next 2 weeks, and everybody will say he's fine. Boom, there it is against Minnesota, who's like 17-3 or something.
They're good.
But he's not, because I've seen him, and he looks out of shape, and the bet is that he's not going to make it. We don't know at this point, but I still think it's reasonable to question Zion's work ethic, his commitment, and his, for lack of better terms, just use what the kids are saying these days, whether or not he's got any dog in him. I just don't know about Zion, but he played well last night, and that's great for the Pels, and they got a good win. So that'll do it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Started the show today talking a little bowl game. What am I excited for? What am I not? Athletic playoff story on what this committee's got to do moving forward. We had Glenn West with us and a great interview earlier with Cody Worsham on the brand of LSU and what goes into that. You can catch that at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. We'll come back tomorrow's show and talk a little more LSU football. Matt's going to drive you home with AFR next.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade.